Welcome to the first episode of Salty Slaughter, which is my new video series based on my aquatic hybrids fighting other aquatic hybrids. AKA, this is just bootleg Bruce's battles, really. Now, for our first opponent, we have Frogger, who shall be fighting the Salty Assault. I think it will be fair for Frogger to enter a 2v1 as Frogger is heavier than the Salty Assault's combined weight. Now, I don't want to keep the intro that long, so let's head on into our first section. I won't explain in detail what the opponent's genome is, however, I will link the genome of the hybrid that is being featured in the description, along with the Salty Assault's genome if you want to know. For the first category, we have offense. We will be going into the Salty Assault's offense first, as it is more simple than Frogger's offense. Their main offensive weaponry is the Cratoxyrhina's jaw, which is very kinetic and robust, able to deliver devastating bites using its razor-sharp teeth. Along with these teeth, the Salty Assault has Tychodus DNA, which grants it interlocking pavement-like teeth across the inside of their mouth. Their secondary weaponry is their bill, courtesy from swordfish, allowing them to stab and slash. However, they do prefer slashing, as that means they don't have to worry about their bills getting stuck in their opponents. Frogger's main and most devastating weaponry is his jaws, a combination of Porosaurus and Stichicosaurus, Hexapodon's canines able to pierce through armor rather easily. These teeth are reinforced by bumphead parrotfish with stronger teeth construction to make them more durable. Along with this, he has the arms of the Spinosaurus improved upon by the tyrant polar bear, an extinct subspecies of the modern polar bear that was even larger. However, the tyrant polar bear is a controversial taxon that might or might not be invalid. However, for the benefit of the doubt, I would decide that this contributor will be allowed. With both fighters' weapons analyzed, it is clear that their auxiliary weapons, that being the Salty Assault's bill and Frogger's claws, are surprisingly evenly tied, as while the bill cannot be positioned as easily as the claws, it is larger and can inflict deeper wounds, along with being able to be powered by the Salty Assault's speed. So the deciding factor here will be the bite, and it is quite clear that Frogger's immense bite force is going to prevail over Salty Assault's bite force. The second category is defense. The Salty Assault main defense is dodging, as their speed and agility allows them to avoid hits, but in the case that they do get hit, they have whale shark skin and nurse shark reinforced tentacles to help. Frogger's main defense is armor, as he has osteoderms covering his skin, along with thicker hide on his underside from Hexapodon. In truth, either of both the Salty Assault and Frogger's armor isn't gonna do much against each other's weapons, but Frogger has much more mass than the Salty Assault and can take much more hits than they can, so this category goes to Frogger. Senses are important for gathering information about the opponents and the environment. Frogger's senses are primarily pressure sensing, while the Salty Assault has electroreception, great eyesight, and great sense of smell. However, the sense of smell will be nullified as Frogger has odor masking. Yet still, the Salty Assault is able to see and notice Frogger way farther than Frogger can see the Salty Assault. And while the pressure sensors will allow Frogger to react to any attacks better, this does not allow him to plan ahead of time to make a strategy. The next category is speed, and I don't think Frogger actually has any speed estimates, so we have to make a guess on what his speed might be. He likely won't be very fast considering he is quite large and isn't perfectly built for swimming as he is semi-aquatic. And the Salty Assault whole thing is speed, so I think it's pretty obvious who wins this category. For agility, the same story applies here. The Salty Assault are just far more made and specialized for movement than Frogger. For the sixth category, we have endurance and stamina. The Salty Assault has a mix of billfish and shark traits for its respiratory system, with the pilot whale helping out dramatically with its cardiovascular system. Frogger, of course, has lungs as he breathes air which is more oxygenated than water, and he can breathe through his skin as well. However, the skin on his underside might be hindered in this ability as the hexaprodon, making the skin on the underside more hide-like, could interfere with oxygen diffusion as the skin must be thin and vascularized to diffuse oxygen from the water into the body. Other than that, he's pretty good. His vascular system is, I think, pretty standardized for an amphibian. For intelligence, it is quite simple, really. Frogger has Orca for intelligence, while the Saltia Soul has Pilot Whale, and orcas are smarter than pilot whales by a bit. This wouldn't matter as much as some people exaggerate it, but it's still a win for Frogger. For our final category, we have Battle Intelligence. Frogger definitely has experience dealing with other hybrids as he has gotten acquainted with Mephiles and Co. 2.0. But that's not to say the Salty Assault hasn't either. They have fought Bruce, Chuck, and Hades' pod. But what it will be the deciding matter on this category is the nature of this fight. It will be a 2v1, and typically two brains can form better strategies than just one brain working alone. Tekken and Carabites are making their way up the coast of the Great Australian Bight. They are looking for a certain hybrid, an amphibian, one who wishes to challenge the assault. They approach the shallower areas. They were lucky to make it in time as they pick up the scent of Frogger's blood. They see a trail of it as well, along with a group of 4 tiger sharks. How inconvenient. No matter, they can turn this situation into a good one if possible. Frogger is semi-aquatic. It is very possible that he is on shore. They can use the tiger sharks as bait, they thought. They'll have to be quick and discreet, however. On the beach, Frogger paces along the coastline. The bleeding from his wound has been stopped thanks to his anti-bleeding crocodilian traits. The matter of the tiger sharks was a more persistent issue, however. He can see their dorsal fins trailing around. He thinks of ways that he can get out of this scenario. Luckily, he still has his hagfish slime at the ready, but he is not sure if he wants to waste it on some annoying sharks. He sits and looks on at the sharks. He shouldn't be out of water this long. His skin will be starting to dry. Tekken charges in first, knocking a tiger shark out of his way and slashing another across his side, cutting off a pectoral fin. He then quickly pivots and snaps at the third tiger shark's tail, pulling it in and crunching on its neck with his jaws, then proceeding to violently slam the tiger shark's body against the coral, snapping its neck. Carabites finishes off the last tiger shark by cutting off its caudal fin and biting it on the head. Frogger will hopefully be persuaded to go in the water to possibly scavenge off the dead tiger sharks. Frogger looks on at the sharks till one of them moves weirdly, more of a forceful push rather than actual swimming. A bigger mystery occurs when that tiger shark disappears. Then one of the dorsal fins sink, a red pool of blood rises from it. Another one gets dragged down, never to rise again, and finally the last dorsal fin drops, as blood rises once more. What was causing this? Why were the tiger sharks dying? Frogger couldn't have known that the Sotia Soul was the cause of this, but more important things matter. He can finally go in the water. He feels the cooling waves as he descends. He wants to know what caused those tiger sharks to die and if they were still there. There seems to be no one there. He looks around to be sure, flinching when a moray eel pops out from the coral. But nothing is there. He swims towards the dead tiger sharks and begins to scavenge. He should eat if he's to recover from his wounds. Carabites and Tekken secretly observes, circling around Frogger, too far away from Frogger to see them. They use their selfish DNA to change their color to hide from Frogger's sight better. Frogger's pressure sensing is of no use here. Those only work in a certain distance. They analyze Frogger, seeing his build, what his weapons are, weak points, and attack angles. They note his weaponry and jaws, his swimming method, and even how long Frogger holds his breath. Its pebbly back is armor it seems, and its underside is hard to reach. The front? Nowhere they're gonna try to attack that, unless they want to become the best chewing toy in the ocean. The flanks will be the priority. They have devised a plan, and they are ready to enact it. Frogger chews on his meal. He needs to be wary. Whoever did this to the tiger sharks must be around. And if his intuition is right, Leaving the dead tiger sharks here is highly suspicious. Likely a trap, perhaps. He notices the wounds too. One of the tiger shark's necks has been stabbed. The rest of the wounds paint a wider picture. Two distinct bite marks, one larger than the other, implying two attackers. They were likely fast as well, considering how fast they killed the tiger sharks. Frogger knew some of this already when he watched how the tiger sharks were slaughtered, but it was nice to have some confirmation. The bite marks are from a shark, or shark-like jaws, judging from the shape and the teeth marks. Yet if Frogger knew this, then why did he go in the water with possible enemies? Well, this is because Frogger wanted to make their trap into his trap. Before Frogger went to the bait, he anticipated what the other hybrids might do. They are likely gonna ambush him from behind, around the upper area where his weapons can't reach very well. Frogger took two sharp pieces of wood and put them in his mouth. This will help extend his range to his unprotected sides. The hagfish slime will also protect him. Frogger is still cautious, however. Among the multitude of injuries from the carcasses, what was most interesting was the slashes inflicted on the body. It was pretty obvious it was from a blade-like weapon, one large enough to cause deep cuts. Frogger doesn't know exactly what weapon this would be, but remembering Cole from his last fight, he theorized it could be from a bill. A swordfish one, in fact. Frogger didn't plan to deal with such a weapon. This was quite worrying. Dakin and Carabitus barrels in at full speed, cutting through the top part of Frogger's tail fin. Their bill rips its way through parts of the thigh until Frogger takes the wooden stakes out of his mouth and jams one into Dakin's side. Dakin quickly disengages before the stake can do any more damage. Carabitus manages to dodge getting stabbed but still gets a cut on her. Luckily, her armor protects her from it being too bad. Dakin pushes forward despite getting stabbed, and with Terabytus, they circle Frogger. They are too fast for Frogger to position himself correctly. Dakin finds an opening and slashes Frogger across the back, but the Osteoderm limits his damage. The speed difference between the Assault and Frogger is very obvious here. Frogger continuously gets nicked and hit in the circle. Frogger tries to escape it by swimming through the circle, but the Salty Assault continues to drag him back in. Terabytus and Dakin signal to each other to feint an attack. Frogger falls for it and ends up overcommitting to an attack, allowing the Salty Assault to bite onto Frogger's hand. Frogger can feel his wrist bones getting dislocated and his owner cracking. Frogger decides to use his ultimate move, pulling both of the sharks to him and releasing his hagfish slime. The slime expands and starts covering the duo, yet the Salty Assault is actually immune to the slime. Whale shark's skill, rakers, and ability to cough keeps the slime out mostly. The oral plug of the whale shark engages to keep the slime out of the throat. The pilot whale oxygen storing traits also help the hybrid hold its breath. The slime is having a hard time sticking to the body as the slippery mucus, courtesy of swordfish and moray eel, prevents it. The Salty Assault lets go of Frogger's hand and swim to a distance. Frogger, however, isn't fully safe, you see. Hagfish get out of their slime by nutting themselves to scrape it off. But since Frogger's body can't nut itself, Frogger is going to have to use his hands to peel the slime off, which is going to take a longer time. Frogger resets his wrist bones by using the ground and begins the long process as quickly as possible. He is immobilized for now, being covered in the slime that slows him down. He's going to drown if he doesn't hurry. Even though Frogger has the ability to breathe through his skin, the slime covers his skin from doing that. He got the slime on his face off, but the rest of his body is unfreed. His vision gets blurry, each blink getting longer and longer. He tries to swim to the surface, but his legs are stuck. He sees for a brief moment. Terabytus is communicating with him. He makes out one word, trade. Frogger doesn't know what she's talking about, but with no other option, he accepts. Dakin and Carabitus go on opposite sides of Frogger's body and secure a grip. They swim upwards to the surface. Frogger feels his face break through the water's surface and takes a deep breath, oxygen filling his lungs. Frogger lives to fight another day, but he still needs to hold up his end of the trade. Carabitus points at Dakin's sack. Frogger takes the wooden stake out and wraps the sliced part of his tail fin as a bandage. The Salty Assault and Frogger part ways.